like every teenager, like there's parts that are like really awesome, and there's some really bad parts of walking through those years. So would love for you to just kind of maybe talk about a time where it was just like really a struggle for you in your story as you walked through those teenage years.
Going to a public school or any school is really hard if you don't have like a core group of like Christian friends. And for me, I kind of like just pushed it off. I was like, oh, I'm fine, I'm doing my own thing, it's cool, it's whatever. But then life got hard, you know, and school was hard, and I noticed like my best friend from the time we were in 7th or 8th grade, I realized I didn't like the way I felt when I was with her. I didn't, you know, if there was a time in my life I was gonna gossip, it was when I was with her. If there was a time in my life I was gonna cuss, it was when I was with her, and I'm not like proud of any of that. And I didn't like the way that like I was treated as a friend, and then furthermore, I didn't like how I treated other people when I was with her. So I was really lost because I didn't have like a group of like Christian friends to fall back on who not only like, it was easy for a lot of people to say they're Christian, but then at the end of the day, they weren't necessarily like there when you went to talk to them. They weren't turning to scripture and saying, well, here's what the Bible says. Here's what God says, let me pray for you. That's not what those friendships looked like. So that was a really hard place to be in for a long time.
That's a very hard thing. How many of you would say that you've like been there before? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's such a universal thing, I think, for a lot of us in that stage of life to like pick the right friends. And like we don't realize how much those people that surround us influence us, either for good or for bad. You know, like there's a quote that I love that says that we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And I think that that's so true. So you hang out with people that are, you know, down or they're treating people poorly, you're probably gonna treat people poorly. If you hang out with people that are encouraging, you're probably gonna be encouraging.
I had met this girl in 5th grade who, for some reason, she didn't like me, and I've always been the person that normally people find me really likable, and like, it's okay if nobody likes you. That's something that I learned from this situation. And like, she didn't like me, and so she eventually began to like bully me, basically. She would berate me, she would like hurt me. And so from this, I became really close with a group of girls. And in that friendship, I realized that I didn't like the way I felt when I was with them. And I became very depressed, and I was anxious about everything. I didn't want to go to school because I was afraid that I was going to get bullied all the time because I didn't really have anybody to go to. And I remember like sitting in my room one day thinking like, what am I going to do, God? Because you're not here, like where are you? And I really thought like walking away from the faith was a really good option because I didn't know what to do. Since I was in the process of switching churches, I went to Catalyst, and I found leaders that really supported me, and they wanted to know about my life and how I was doing, which I hadn't really, like obviously I love my parents and they do their best, but I hadn't really felt that before with people. And I made relationships with people that were authentic, and I finally had a community, which I didn't have. And as I started to come to Catalyst, I noticed my friends changed, my attitude changed. I began to like come out of this slump, and I still struggle with depression and anxiety today, but it's a lot better because I have a community in my life based with Christians and people that support me and love me no matter what. And if it weren't for that, I probably wouldn't be here.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Cam, tell us about your story.
Man, my life has been a roller coaster. But my 5th grade year of elementary school is when I started to fall into a very deep, dark place because I was overweight. I was very highly overweight, so I got bullied all the time about my weight or being called fat or ugly, just constant every day. And my mom would ask, so Cameron, how was your day? And I would just be like, good, even though it was like terrible. My freshman year it was going okay. I was still getting talked about because I was 298 at this point. So I was still way overweight, you know, 2 pounds away from 300. And a week before my birthday, my grandma dies. Just poof. And I remember that hitting me super hard. At one point, I couldn't get up. Like, I got so, because when you get anxiety, your muscles tense. And my leg muscles, I guess, had got so tense to where when they finally let go, I couldn't get up anymore. So if I went to school, I had to have people help me up. If I was walking, it was just pure willpower to walk to the other place. And my mom and my dad, they did what they could do. I didn't have a very tight relationship with my dad around the time. But fast forward, Trader's Point, I didn't want to go at first. I just did not want to go. Like my
Why didn't
mom,
you want to go?
because I wasn't like a big church guy.
Yeah.
I just didn't like church at this point because I'm like, all right, I'm in this place in my life. Like, God, you're not really there. So what's the whole point of going to church? To learn about somebody I think that's not there. So my mom was like, hey, you're going to this church tomorrow. Aaron was preaching. The fourth message, it was actually about teens and depression and stuff. It just hit me real hard. I remember going home and then sitting at home like an hour later. I was up in my room. I was kind of just like thinking about stuff. Like I sometimes do that. And then poof, tears just out of nowhere. I just started bawling out. Like my eyes I just started crying.
What were the tears about?
It was just like, it was about everything I had. It felt like it was everything I had went through, but it actually looked like it could get better. Like I felt like a sense of hope, which I hadn't felt that in at this point, 5-6 years.
That's great, dude. That's great. Thanks for sharing that. Savannah, tell us about your story.
I'm not gonna like put a label of like depression on it, but I definitely was like really sad all the time, and it felt like I was just in this like really, really like deep hole that I just like couldn't dig myself out of. I'd lost motivation for like almost everything. I didn't want to like get up and go to school. I didn't even want to go to church. I didn't want to hang out with my friends. I just really just wanted to like lay in my bed. I didn't want to do anything. And my mom, of course, she would always ask me like, what's wrong? And I couldn't describe it to her because I just felt like really empty inside. Like there was no like word that I could have used to describe it. I just felt really just alone. And like I prayed obviously, and then it got to the point where like I just kept praying and like it felt like nothing was changing. So I was getting kind of angry. I was like, well, I obviously believe in God and like I know you're up there, but like I'm feeling like this and like nothing's changing. Like I don't know what to do. Like I just feel like hopeless. I just feel really alone. So I like opened up about it once at like a life group, because there's like several like life groups would go by and I just like wouldn't share anything because I was like scared of how like everybody else would respond, because I didn't know if any of my other friends were feeling the same way as like I was feeling. So I opened up about it to like my life group and like my life group leader, and they're like all amazing people. So like I knew that I wasn't gonna get judged. Like I wasn't worried about that. So I opened up about it and I was like, I don't know like how to tell you guys this, but I just feel like really alone and I just feel like hopeless and I don't know what to do. And like my leader just like reminded me that like I'm God's masterpiece, and like there's like no walk that like I walk through that like he's not gonna be like right beside me. Like even though like I don't feel his presence, like he's still always gonna be there. Yeah. And like she just kept reminding me that there's like always a light at like the end of the tunnel. So like I just kept like texting her, like we would text back and forth, and she would like send me verses each morning, and I would just like share like with my group like what I was going through like each day, and like through that they were just all able to help me, and then here I am.
That's awesome. What was it like going back to that moment where you decided to be courageous and open up to your group? What was that, like what caused you to take that step when every other group before that you were too scared?
Yeah, I don't really exactly know what the turning point was for me. I just felt like inside I was like, okay, like I can't just keep this to myself. Like I need to like tell people who I know like I trust, and like they're not just gonna go around like telling everyone. I was like, I need to tell someone, because like just like keep going through, like if I just keep living the way I'm living, like nothing's gonna get better. So when I realized that, I just really need to tell them about it.
You glad you did?
Yes. Like the moment like after like I got it all out, I felt like there was just like a huge weight lifted off my shoulder, and I just felt so much better.
Thanks for sharing that part of your story. Austin, you're up, man. Tell us about your story.
Me and my girlfriend, we were we were close with God and everything. And that's just, I started falling from there. We started getting into a lot of arguments and everything, and I would just be in constant depression. I would want to kill myself at some points just because it was so low, not because of my girlfriend, but because of school and all the friends, and it just all wasn't the same as in middle school. And so freshman year, starts to wrap up, starts getting a little better. And then I hear about Catalyst and everything, and I start getting my core group of friends back. So I kind of started going to there, and my parents always pushed me to go to youth groups and everything. But it kind of was like a resting place to just get everything off my mind that was from school, what friends pushed me to do, like just everything. And it was a resting place just to clear my mind and be like, this is just relaxing, nothing, I don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah, I appreciate your transparency about that. And even just saying like,
Yeah.
I'm still wrestling with this right now.
This was hard.
It is.
So about 2 or 3 weeks after I started going to Catalyst, I found out my aunt and uncle were getting a divorce. And I'm not gonna like get into the details of that, but like it was really difficult, and there was a lot of stuff behind that was hurtful. And I was battling a lot with what that meant for like our family, because we were either at their house every weekend or they were at ours, and I was really close with them and my little cousin, and so I was really hurting like myself, but then I was also hurting for my little cousin and for my aunt, and I came in to Catalyst, and it was the day after I had heard of it. And I shared it with them. And I knew a couple of the girls already, but for most of these people, I've only known them less than a month. And I'm not one to like just get up and like typically share that. Known you less than a month, but here's what's going on in my life. And so the entire time that we're sitting there, I'm like, I can just like hear God being like, you should talk about this, you should talk about this. And I'm like, I'm okay. And then literally in the last 5 minutes, like we're getting ready to pray, and I was like, hey, actually, I have a prayer request. Like, can we talk about something real quick? And I sat there and I told them everything. And I just felt so relieved. And I had these girls who, some of them were younger than me, my life group leader, and then the seniors, they're texting me throughout the week. There's a girl who will come up to me and be like, how are you doing? Like, I'm praying for you. Or they'd just sit there right there and pull me aside and be like, can I pray for you right now? Like, I know what you're going through. Which isn't something that I had ever like really felt before outside of like my family. It was such a call to me to like make change in my life. And so that's what I did, which was incredible. And I honestly believe that like without Catalyst, I wouldn't have like found that turning point for my life.